Good morning, y'all. Welcome to Self-Care Saturday. See if I can put this thing on without turning it off. Okay, so it is Saturday, March 11th, 2023. And because it is March 11th, it triggers something in my mind. It's been 2 years, almost 2 years, and exactly 1 month. It'll be 2 years since Always Up Coaching, the sponsor of this program, Self-Care Saturday, was open for business. And I'm so excited for how far we have come. And we'll probably have another giveaway or some other kind of celebration in our anniversary month of April. So I have to think of what that will be. So today on Self-Care Saturday, we will be talking about self-care of your intellectual self. So learning how to show love to your intellectual self. And some of y'all may say, why is that even important? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. Why it's important, what it is, and why you need it, right? But before we get started, as always, I'm going to tell you who I am. I'm Latanya Brumfield, the principal coach at Always Up Coaching. And when I created this business, I just really wanted to help people win. That's something I had enjoyed in the past, helping people achieve goals, live a better, happier life, giving them that wisdom that puts them, in a better position to win in the thing that they're trying to win in, whatever that thing is, right? And so that's what we do. Sometimes we get paid for it, sometimes we don't. But it's a privilege to be able to spend a good portion of my time working towards that for people. And you are people, so I'm glad you joined us today, because we're going to talk about loving the intellectual self and take a moment to share this stream with other people, because loving your intellectual self is a very important portion of self-care, and I think you'll find it interesting, our discussion today. So follow all our socials so you won't miss an episode of Self-Care Saturday. And we also do Mental Health Monday on Mondays, which is an extension in a way of self-care. It's the ultimate self-care, taking care of your mind, right? And your emotions. So make sure you join us Monday at 5:30 p.m. Central Standard Time for Mental Health Monday. Now, in a minute, we're going to be having our co-host, Laverne, join us, Laverne Wright. But while we're waiting on her to come, I'm going to get started. And as always, when we have discussions like this, I like to make sure we're on the same page. So what is intellectual self-care? Intellectual self-care involves growing your brain, in a way, growing that part of you that needs to learn new things, right, to thrive and grow. So an example of intellectual self-care for me is reading a book that gives me new insight on a specific topic, right? Learning to do something new. And so what it does is also delivers a little bit of dopamine, right? Dopamine is that thing that helps keep you mentally healthy, helps regulate your emotions, etc. So that's one thing it does, which is why I am addicted. I am the specialist on intellectual self-care, because I have ADHD, and I've learned by default to always be curious and learn and grow, etc., which helps deliver that extra dose of dopamine that I need to keep going. So that is what intellectual self-care is. And now I'm going to bring up our co-hosts. Welcome, Laverne. You're going to have to unmute yourself.
Hey everyone, how are y'all?
Welcome to Self-Care Saturday, you guys. I'm sure some of you already know this is our co-host, Laverne Wright.
Hello everyone.
Laverne is a registered nurse like myself, a coach. We are health
Yes, a
advocates,
growth coach.
and we
Yes,
love to see people win together.
exactly. And I heard Latanya, you were saying March 11th marks 2 years. Wow.
Well, actually, it's April 11th, so in one
Okay,
month.
April,
In
one
one
month.
month, it'll be
Okay,
2 years
okay.
on April 11th.
That is
April 11th is also my
awesome.
birthday, so My birthday is always double special from here on out because
Yes.
it's 2 big days for me all in
That's
one. So
awesome. That's
another
awesome.
reason to be excited on my birthday.
Definitely.
Yeah. So it's
So,
getting close. It's getting close. We're going to do something next month to celebrate 2 years of Always Up Coaching.
okay, I'm
And so I got to
excited.
think of something really good and exciting to do. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. I don't know. You're gonna have to help me brainstorm on that, Laverne.
Definitely will.
Yes, indeed. So I'm a
Definitely
little
will.
hoarse this morning, y'all. I think it's allergy season.
Yeah,
So if I
it
sound a
is.
little weird, that's what it is. So I'm gonna be
Yes,
sipping
it is.
tea kind of frequently.
Okay, okay.
It's still a little hot now. I had to add a little something to it to cool it down. But I just got through sharing with everybody that intellectual self-care is important because first of all, we need to continue to be learning to thrive in any environment, right? So if we go to a new
Right.
job, we got to be able to learn to be successful in that environment. We move in a new neighborhood even, you got to learn about the neighborhood, your neighbors,
Exactly.
that kind of thing. And that's how we thrive in our environments, is by continuing to learn. But also
Mm-hmm.
learning can release dopamine in some people, right? And that
Mm-hmm.
helps keep you more mentally healthy and emotionally healthy, helps regulate our emotions, right?
Right.
So I'm looking at my notes, y'all.
And Latonya,
uh,
it's important to have that growth mindset, and we touched on it a little
last
on our last session.
we sure did. We sure did.
Mm-hmm. And
Um,
we,
having a growth mindset, like I talk about regulating your emotions, and keep staying mentally healthy. Having a growth mindset ensures you look at life in the right way,
right.
right? In a
Mm-hmm.
positive way. We talked about growth and
Exactly.
abundance. Well, at the
Right.
key heart of growth is building your brain, learning new things, learning to
Mm-hmm.
see things differently. It's almost not learning new things. Sometimes it's learning to see things differently, right? I talked a minute ago about reading books that help me see things in a new light and a new perspective. Sometimes we need that, right? Sometimes, it helps only to see things in a narrow frame of reference, right? But other times we need to expound our view on certain topics. So it's important to read, grow, talk to people. Intellectual self-care can involve talking to people. So intellectual self-care, another benefit is, and Laverne, I think you may be able to speak to this a little bit, is it improves our overall cognitive function, which is the way our brain functions. It improves our memory and our focus. So for me, I do know when I'm in school, the more I work on learning, the better I get at learning,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Would you share the same experience?
I agree. The same. The more I engage into stuff, like I told you, like reading, it seems like it calms me and it makes me want to do it even more. So yeah, I can
Hmm.
relate to that definitely.
Yeah, yeah. It also, and it's like the memory game. We have children play the memory game because it makes their memories better. It trains their
Mhm.
brain to want to memorize things,
Right.
right? So the more we engage in that activity, the better we get at that activity.
Mhm. Mhm.
Same thing with focus, right?
Right.
Um, when I was in high school, taking the ACT, I was scoring high in certain areas, but other areas I was not. And this was prior to me knowing I had ADHD, and I always did not like to read, right? So obviously, one of the parts of my score profile, or my individual scores, that wasn't meeting up to the standard of the rest of them, was reading, right? And it's because I couldn't keep focus while reading, right? So my teacher at that time, um, she actually gave me this very thick book. And when I say thick, y'all, thick. And it was based on the history of one of the English English queens, right? Her whole life story, which you can imagine at certain points was quite boring, right? And she's like, "Look, I want you to get through this book, just struggle, and just every chance you get in this book and make yourself engage and read, and know that I'm going to ask you questions, so you got to pay attention while you're reading, right?" Anyway, I didn't make it through the whole book. I went through about 75%, but that next time I took the ACT, my score went up like 4 points. You know why? Because I had been engaging in this really boring content that wasn't going to make a difference on my grade. The only thing that it depended on was maybe somebody asking me some questions about it. But because I had practice focusing, right, I learned to do it better, right? So when I got to the ACT, that little short passage that I had to read on the ACT was nothing. It was nothing. So that's an example of expanding your focus. So the next bullet point I have for
You kind of trains
intellectual,
your brain.
it does. It does.
Yeah.
It trains your
Mhm.
brain. Just like,
Yeah.
we talked about physical self-care and exercise, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Same thing, same exact
Exactly.
thing, same exact
Exactly.
thing. The more you exercise, the better you
Mo-
get at being able to
Right.
lift things, move things,
Mhm.
have endurance, right? The better your heart is at pumping your blood. Same thing
Mhm.
for the brain. It's
And
a
this
it's a muscle in a sense.
right. And sometimes at the same time, it kind of being able to accomplish things like that kind of
Hmm.
boosts your self esteem. You know,
Exactly.
it's
Which tips
good.
us over to that self-love
Mhm.
portion of self-care, right?
Right.
So the next bullet point I have is it can increase your creativity and innovation. Creativity is just being able to just like randomly think of thoughts and create things, right? Innovation is learning how to solve problems in a creative way. That's what innovation is. So I am an innovator by nature because I started off being creative, right? And I'm sure you can relate to this as a late diagnosis ADHD person, Laverne. And then life started throwing problems at me, right? And that's where that creativity turned into innovation, because instead of
Right.
daydreaming about just XYZ, I was daydreaming about fixing this problem. That was
Exactly.
a real problem for me, right? And
Right.
that's one of the reasons I'm good at being a life coach, because I'm innovative. I know
Mhm.
how to creatively solve problems.
Mhm.
Do you share that experience, Laverne?
I have it definitely. You have to be able to think outside of the box and want to try new things. And if you expose yourself to new things and new ways of thinking, that definitely would expand on your intellectual health and allow you to
Absolutely.
grow.
Absolutely. So, uh, let's see. I think I had spoken another one on. I was trying to grab my thought. It was hovering right here, and I was like, "Oh, grab it out the air." I had spoke on one of the previous episodes about creativity and how creativity is a muscle to be exercised. And I am not a natural born artist, but when I try to be an artist, I can produce some pretty good things. So creativity is not. Some people are born with an innate ability to tap into it better. Those are those natural born artists, right? At 3 years old, they're drawing, very realistic, drawings and such. But all of us have that ability as well to tap into that same thing. It's just not as easy as it would be for that person who has a natural born talent. So the more we exercise that muscle, of being creative and learning how to do creative things, learning how to draw, etc., the more we're able to do it, right? So just one more thing as an aside, I am learning to speak Spanish from one of my coworkers, right? And we've been using our downtime on the clock, to
Oh
learn words,
wow.
etc. And she was showing me some social media after we had, done our little lesson for an hour or so, playing around.
Mhm.
She's showing me some social media, and just that quickly, my brain had tripped. The switch had tripped into learning how to listen to foreign language, right? So
Uh huh.
I was able to figure out things based on the context of what was going on the video. So we think we can't do things, but that's where the effort of trying comes in, because then it
Comes
shows
in.
us we
Yeah.
can, and it
Mhm.
shows us that we can do it a lot faster than we think, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And just to tap into, personal development, which is our thing at Always Up Coaching. We always talk about having the vision, right? Knowing where we're going, right?
Mhm.
But it's sometimes that vision is fuzzy. But
Mhm.
as you start moving toward that vision, it becomes more clear, right?
Clear.
Just like,
Right.
if you see something way down the street, you may not be able to read the license plate if it's a car,
Mhm.
but as you walk closer to that license plate, then those numbers, it's like, oh, I think that's a 4. I think that's a
Mhm.
letter F, right? That's how your vision is. You get more refined on your vision. And, us providing intellectual self-care, learning, growing, whatever, helps us refine what we want out of life more.
Right.
And that's the basic overall benefit, right? It contributes to our overall well-being, because as we learn and grow and discover the world, we are able to refine more what we want out of life, our vision.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You have anything to piggyback on that, Laverne?
It's just you gotta get into learning new things. That's very important. To grow, and it not only helps you grow, intellectually. It also affects your health, because it's been proven the more you do creative activities and things that help, your intellectual knowledge. It helps with memory and age. It's been found to help with, the Alzheimer's gene that's in
Mm-hmm.
people. It's been um I want to say keep it dormant, but it helps with Alzheimer's. It helps with dementia. So intellectual well-being is very important with those aspects. Focusing and memory. It helps with all of that. So I think it's something that I like to do. I like to
Mm-hmm.
work on puzzles. I like to do reading. I like to do art. So, and even just learning, like you said,
Mm-hmm.
with languages. And my goal is to learn a new language. I want to learn Spanish sometime in my lifetime. That's on my bucket
Mm-hmm.
list. But it's very important.
Yes, yes.
And at the
So,
same time, I was just thinking it can be stressful, trying to learn it. But once you get it, it
mhm.
builds your esteem that you're able to accomplish that goal.
Yes. And you mentioned goals. Goals are so important when we're learning new things, because first of all, it keeps us realistic about our progress, right? A lot of
Hmm.
times we don't set a real defined goal, and we just feel like we're not getting it as fast as we should. And that's
Hmm.
because we didn't set a realistic goal, right? So that's what
Right.
makes us discouraged. So if
Hmm.
going into learning something new, we make a plan, first of all, and set very
Hmm.
realistic, what we call SMART goals:
Hmm.
specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time sensitive. And we
Hmm.
sit down, and we're very objective with ourselves and set real SMART goals, right?
Hmm.
um,
Hmm.
that when we do have these wins, we can recognize the wins, first of all, but also we don't attribute failure to ourselves when it's not a reasonable failure. We didn't give ourselves enough time, right? So that's
Hmm.
what goals are for. So it's important, if you're wanting to learn something new that you're interested in, that if you do, first of all, you don't have to set a goal for yourself if it's leisure, right, or recreation while you're learning, right? You could
Hmm.
just learn in your free time, and just it'll accumulate over time. I'm that type
Right.
of learner. A lot of times, I learn things that I'm interested in, and by the grace of God, later it becomes relevant to whatever I'm
Right.
doing.
Exactly.
And that has been a testament to my business
Hmm.
success. Stuff I have learned over the years, I've been able to apply in my business.
That's good.
So, and that's only because I'm doing a business that I enjoy, right? So that
Hmm.
makes sense,
Hmm.
right? If you start learning and growing in areas that you're interested in, and then eventually you create a business that you're interested in, there's going to be some overlap, and you're going to be able
Hmm.
to apply all the things that you've learned over time.
Hmm.
And it becomes an easy flow, right? And
Right.
also, the more you learn where and how to learn, right? You know how to
Hmm.
find things, right? I am the queen Googler. I can find anything through Google if you give me enough time. And that includes hidden documents on people's websites. Where there's a will, there's a way, y'all, and it's all on Google. So that's why you don't put anything on the internet you don't want the whole world to know, because somebody like me is
Right.
on the other end finding it. But
Oh
but
wow.
that being said, now we have new technology coming in, which is AI.
Hmm.
And continue to follow Always Up Coaching, because eventually I'm going to do a course on that, because just like my skills grew very fast on Googling, my skills in using the AI are growing super fast, right? And I'm able to
Yeah,
figure
they
out how to do a
are.
lot of things with it. But that's just a testament to the more you expose yourself to learning things you enjoy, the more
Hmm.
over time, as your life vision gets refined, the more applicable those things you have learned will become to your life.
Exactly. And just with mundane stuff that you do, day to day, like you can make it, your creativity can be involved with that,
Hmm.
something just as simple as you driving back and forth to work. You can
Mm-hmm.
introduce different things into, your emotional, well,
Mm-hmm.
intellectual health. You can listen to a book, like, they have audio books. Even just
Absolutely.
taking a different route to work,
Mm-hmm.
that helps with your intellectual health. Just, that change, because you're so used to that repetitive route. You can change it up and take a different route. So that helps also.
Yes, that's a way of
Working.
learning. I
Mhm.
started using the Waze app a few years ago, and what
Mhm.
it does sometimes it
I like
takes
the
you
Waze
through
app.
these back streets, and I'm back streets. I mean, like, it takes you through neighborhoods instead
Yeah.
of always keeping you on the main highways and the
Mhm.
thoroughfares, right? So I've
Mhm.
learned a lot about my city and what neighborhoods look
Right.
like that I've never been into, and
Exactly. And
it's
it's kind
been
of like a
very
puzzle.
interesting.
Yeah.
It's
Uh-huh.
been very, very interesting. It also helps me see the scope of how big my city is. Like,
Yes.
like
Right.
all these
Mhm.
houses tucked back in here that I never knew
Yeah.
that were in this area of
I
town.
love the Waze app. Yeah. Because
Hmm.
I'm always interested to see on where I'm gonna come out. I'm
Yes.
like, okay, where is this taking me? Because I'm like, is this? And then, and it saves a lot of time. So yeah, I like the Waze app.
I like to, I'm by nature an experimenter, and
Mhm.
that's the best way to learn, right? To
Mhm.
learn in which you can see why things are the way they are,
They
right? And
are.
how it
Uh huh.
happened, how things happen,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So a lot of times I'll just do things differently just to see how different the outcome will be.
Mhm.
See if it's easier or harder. Even around my house, it's a game for me sometimes. Let me see if I do
I
X, Y,
love it.
Z, if this will be faster.
Yeah. I love
Let
it.
me see if I switch. And sometimes in life, we need to be able to experiment, switch things up because
Right.
we talk about time management. Sometimes it's like we're having a hard time managing our time. And this little system over here seems like we've been doing it for forever and it seems
Yeah.
efficient, right?
Yeah. You're
But
so used
maybe
to
we could
doing
tweak
the
it a little
same
bit.
thing. Uh huh.
Exactly. Maybe we could tweak it a little bit and it could be actually be faster,
Faster.
right?
Right. Uh huh.
So, learning to make those small changes in your life or that experience, that little tiny experiments is a way to be intellectually self-caring, right?
Yeah.
I need to figure out how I can make more time in my day so I can build a business.
Mhm.
So intellectually, I'm going to test some theories.
Right. And
Like
have
it
the
seems like this
courage. Yeah.
exactly.
Uh huh.
A lot of us have stopped learning because we have traumatic experience with the
Mhm.
school systems,
Mhm.
whether
Mhm.
it be, elementary, secondary, or college, upper higher education. Um, and we've used that as an excuse to not open the book again, because we've had traumatic experiences. But the good thing about intellectual self-care, because you're caring for self, you can be selfish about it, right? You
Right.
can choose what you want to learn, right? So don't limit what you learn about.
Exactly. And
I
start
have a
small.
yes,
Yeah. If
even the
it's
little
something you like to
things.
do, yeah. If you like
Mhm.
cooking, start watching
Mhm.
cooking shows. Start reading cooking books. If you like
Exactly.
automotives, cars, start with something you like to do,
Mhm.
and branch out from there. The sky's the
It may,
limit.
it may turn into a hobby that can be very beneficial to you, your family. And when I say beneficial, financially beneficial, but it can also be financially beneficial, and you don't have to spend as much money, not necessarily making money, because
Right.
you learn to do the thing. One
Mhm.
of the memories of my life when it comes to intellectual self-care is I used to have an old minivan, and I had it for a long time. And
Okay. I
one of
can't
the
picture
tail
you in a
lights went out.
minivan.
One of the tail lights went out, and this is in my early years of being able to learn how to do anything on YouTube. And the tail lights went out, and so I was like, well, if I got to go to the dealership to get it fixed, I'm not going to pay for the tail light at the dealership. I looked around, right? Tried to find the aftermarket part, and I found it on, I think, Amazon or either eBay or something like that. So they sent me the light, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to go on YouTube to see if there's anybody changing a tail light on a Dodge Caravan. And guess what LaTanya found? They had a gentleman on there who explained it in every detail, and I was able to get out there and change my tail light. You know how much money I
YouTube
saved?
University. Yes.
You know how much I would have charged had I paid a mechanic to do that? And it was
Right.
something I was able to do with the tools I had, right?
Yourself. Exactly.
So just exploring the potential
Right.
for what can be learned is
Exactly.
self-care, right?
Yeah.
Because that $50 could be spent on food,
Right.
vacation, whatever else, and it didn't take me long to do it, right? So, and then the video is maybe like 10 minutes long. So sometimes we don't even take the effort to try to learn things. And when we do,
Right.
it's like, oh my goodness, this is super easy. I can do this myself, you know?
Mhm.
And when I was building my business and I started to, in that month long time that I went from idea to launch, I did, I looked at YouTube videos, whatever. I was like, okay, this is doable. I don't want to put down a heavy amount of cash to start a new business. So I can build this website. I can go on Canva and produce a logo. And, I've
And
gotten better at it over
Latonya,
time.
I bet as you did it, you were getting more intrigued to watch more videos, to read
Mm-hmm.
more literature, to
Mm-hmm.
study even more. So, that was
Exactly.
just,
Exactly.
expanding that intellectual health. That's
And
awesome.
as an aside, as I was learning how to just get my business going, I was learning how to be a better coach. I was learning more about marketing, more about techniques, more about things I would need to do in the future. So often, when you're learning the one thing that you're looking to learn, you often learn other things that you will need in the future. So it helps to be curious in general. Always wonder. Have a spirit of wonder. Having a spirit of wonder is what kids have, right? That's why they
Right.
ask you all the questions, like, what is that? Why are you
Exactly.
doing that? Whatever.
Mhm.
We get out of that habit because a lot of times people train kids not to be nosy.
Exactly. Life
But
happens.
and then we become adults and we don't get curious about one another.
Mhm.
But intellectual self can strengthen. Growing your intellectual self can also strengthen your relationships. And we're going way off the bullet points, but that's good. We're having a good conversation.
I know.
But learning about cultures,
Yeah.
showing interest in people, being curious, So my
Exactly.
coworker who is teaching me Spanish, she around the New Year's time, we were talking about New Year's, whatever, and she's from Mexico, and I was like, so what happens in the Mexican culture on New Year's Eve? And she explained
Mhm.
it to me, which was a very rich cultural experience, and
Yeah.
it left me saying, like, man, I would like to experience that. That
I
beats
know. Yeah.
any kind of, let's make cabbage,
Yeah.
stay up to midnight, and it involves several layers of their culture,
Culture. Yeah.
the
Exactly.
religious, their
Mhm.
spirituality, their they're spending time with their family. It involved
Mhm.
food. It involved, celebration. It involved, in a way, one of the things she explained
Their
involves
history and
kind of like
heritage.
setting goals and stuff for the new year. It involved very similar aspects to American culture, and Black culture, but it was, in my opinion, was so much more rich. Right? She may say the same thing about our culture, but learning something new makes you want to experience something new, right?
Yeah, that's very
And
true.
it just really opens your mind, and it makes
Mhm.
you want to set new goals for yourself.
Right. And especially for a parent, to teach
Mhm.
your kids, different things and
Mhm.
new ways of different cultures, so they won't be, afraid to just branch out with knowing and participate in stuff with other people,
Mhm.
they're different from them, so that helps because sometimes we kind of keep everything in a box and keep our kids in a box, and they're not exposed to what they should be exposed to, and then when they're actually exposed to it, when they branch out into life, it's a shock. So
Mhm.
that definitely would help, you know teaching them other
Mhm.
cultures and exposing them to other
Yes.
cultures and new
And it makes
things,
it
different
easier for them
things.
to build relationships faster because they're
Mm-hmm.
more curious. They know how to appropriately ask people questions about their culture. That person feels respected by them because
Right.
they are curious about their culture and they want to learn, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and so they're able to, there's a lot of talk these days about, diversity and inclusion,
Right.
um, that is a true diversity and inclusion.
Mm-hmm.
Respecting the differences about other people, wanting to
Exactly.
learn about other people
Right. And
instead of
being able to
believing what the
comfortably talk.
stereotype would be.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm. Being
So
able to
that
comfortably
is
talk.
intellectual self-care.
Definitely.
Um,
We're way
so
off the
for the
bullet
rest of the
points.
time,
This
we're
is
gonna
good.
talk about tips, and we've already been landing on tips, but I just want to make sure I cover some of the tips we have on our bullet points. So one of the tips they say is for intellectual self-care is develop, and this kind of overlaps with emotional self-care a little bit. And as we said, when we started this series, we're always going to have overlap here, right? But
That's part of the
being
holistic care, holistic
exactly
self-care. So it's all
learning
gonna
about
run together.
yourself.
Hmm.
So learning about yourself, for example, you may start keeping a list of foods that don't agree with your stomach. That is growing your knowledge about your gastrointestinal system, right? You may do a deep dive on any prescription medicines and learn about all those side effects. Actually read the paper that comes with your prescription, whenever you feel it. That is intellectual self-care. But also, learning about your personality is so key to being able to fulfill any vision you have in life, live the life you
Exactly.
want, right? Learning about yourself, because then you'll learn what's holding you back, but you'll also learn the
Exactly.
parts about yourself that you can leverage as a benefit
Right.
to move forward, right?
Exactly. That's going back to asking that why. Just like how we talked
Asking the
about
why.
that growth mindset, or that, that abundant mindset.
Mm-hmm.
You want to focus on that abundant mindset, but you also want to focus on your deficit, on why you're not having that abundant mindset. So
Absolutely.
what's going on in your life for you not to feel like you can grow, or feel like you can, have or do things that others. So if you go, yeah, definitely, if you go back and
I
reflect
think we
on
could
yourself
both share the
and
sentiment of
grow.
that's how we both figured out or started to figure out that we had ADHD, right? Because we were doing all the right things and trying very hard to make certain things happen or to be good at certain things, right? And it wasn't coming smoothly. So
Right.
something must be wrong. Let me reflect. What is
Why
happening
am I
throughout the day?
struggling? Yeah.
Yes, I'm spending the whole day trying to clean my house and nothing is getting completing. I'm able to
Exactly.
start the things, but I'm
Things that
easily
I'm not.
distracted. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. I lack focus.
Definitely.
So that's
That's
how
good.
you begin to solve your problems and start to fix things, right? Is by, self-reflecting, right? Sitting down and actually giving yourself time to think, and try to be, once you figure something exists, that's where the innovation comes in, okay? So I lack focus. In what times in my life am I able to focus, right? That's when you start problem solving and being innovative. But it has to start with that self-reflection and figuring yourself out, right?
Right.
Here's another example, that relates to emotional self-care. You're getting out of a bad relationship, with a significant other, okay, and you notice a pattern because you're reflecting, right? Why do I always choose men or women who do X, Y, Z? What is it about that trait that attracts me to that person?
Yeah.
And what can I do to not be attracted to that trait again,
Or
right?
keep falling in that same cycle.
Exactly. So it helps disrupt unhealthy cycles and it helps reinforce healthy cycles.
Right.
Like, I did great with eating today. What was different about today where I was able to stay on my diet? Well, everything was ready to eat already, right? You meal preps on Sunday, so everything was ready to go and eat. So you didn't have a opportunity to think about making an unhealthy choice because the choice was already made for you, right? So that's how you kill those negative cycles and reinforce the positive cycles, the healthy and unhealthy. So that's a form of self-care. So we already touched on reading. Obviously, the wonderful thing about reading is there's a book on every topic in the world, right?
And definitely is.
You may have to read a few books to get everything you want about a topic, but it's an unlimited way to grow. And we have in America, we have public libraries. And now you don't even have to go to the library. You can check out ebooks. So this is
books on recordings.
Audiobooks, yes. So if you're like me and Laverne, who sometimes had trouble sitting down reading a book that may not be as interesting.
My new joy of reading, of actually sitting down reading. So, Latonya, aren't you proud of me?
I was surprised. I even questioned the good activity. I'm like, why are you doing that? You ain't got to do all that, Laverne. She was like, no, but I'm enjoying it. I said, okay. Let me shut up. But yeah, sometimes you will find that a learning activity that you had previously disliked can become enjoyable in the right context and with the right support systems, right? So don't always discard something that may be suggested to you or something that you know may be appropriate.
Right.
So reading. And when I say reading, that includes listening to audiobooks, because I am an audiobooker. The only time I'm sitting down to open a book and read it is because I can't get it in audiobook version.
Right. And
Right.
we do have a book club. So,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah, we do have a book club. So if you're the type of
definitely.
person who is interested in personal development and just making your life better in many ways, definitely, inbox me, and we don't have open enrollment for the book club anymore. It's by invitation or request only.
Definitely.
So if you're
It's
interested
awesome,
in
you
it, just
guys.
reach out. Just reach out.
Exactly. We're reading a really good book right now.
Yes. So the next thing I have on here is acquiring a new skill. And that is going back to what I was talking about earlier, like YouTube University, right? You can learn how to do almost anything on YouTube, y'all. Anything. Now, it may take you a long time to learn it, trying to find all the pieces of the thing on YouTube, right? But also, there's a lot of little small, short, succinct videos. For example, I was redoing something on my website yesterday. I was actually trying to undo something that I had done temporarily. And I actually had to Google it, which sent me to a few YouTube videos. And after like 3 of them, they were all very short. I was able to undo the thing. And so that's a new skill that I have now. The problem was when I learned to do the skill, I didn't learn how to undo the skill. But now I know, right? Will I remember? I don't know. I mean, I remember in the future, but I know that I can go back to YouTube and find it because there was a few videos on it. There was more than one video on it. So
exactly.
Learning how to do new skill is not always as difficult as you think.
Yeah, and it's got some things that you can try. Like if you just use Google and Google your local town, they may have different little line dances for a date night, or friends day out.
I actually have somebody in my entrepreneurship group that does line dancing at the local library. At her local library, she teaches line dancing for free. So
I need to join.
Yeah, that is if you're interested in that, make a comment so I can connect you with that person and where they are. She's in Louisiana, in West Baton Rouge Parish. So if you're in that area and you're interested in line dance, then definitely make contact with me so I can connect you with Miss Susie.
And then that can take care of your physical, self-care also. So, you're knocking two out at the same time, hey.
Yeah. Just like, if you read a book, you can read a book about emotions and emotional self-care, right? So a lot of times there's an overlap, as we said before, in these pursuits of intellectual self-care.
Maybe even getting together with a friend,
Yes, that's the next bullet point on our list, Laverne.
I saw.
The role of social interaction. The role of social interaction. So this is something I struggle with. And just because I'm not naturally social, I'm an introvert. I love the comfort of my home. I can entertain myself right up in here all day long. Just me, myself, and I can have a party.
I'm with you.
So to make myself get up, put on clothes, and go, sit at a party and chat with somebody I've never met before is not my idea pleasant. However, it can be a benefit to you. And I think in another episode, or maybe Mental Health Monday, I shared that, I used to have an initiation of being the person to initiate conversation, right? Going to meet people, making myself be like, hello, my name is LaTanya. But I was at an event for school, and it was like a workshop, and, we do distance education. So everybody, the whole class was coming together in physical to meet in person, right? And we were getting up, introducing ourselves or whatever. And this lady got up and she said what she did, blah, 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 blah. And I found it so interesting. I was like, I need to chat with that lady. I have a question to ask her, whatever. So this is myself kind of wanting to engage with her, but also the other part of me saying, just sit in your desk all day and just be comfortable, right? So one of the ways I figured how to get out my comfort zone, right? And this is going to like overlap a few things. I had read a book by Mel Robbins called The 5-Second Rule.
I love that book. Yeah.
So because I had read that book, it gave me a skill, a tool to be able to initiate a conversation with this lady.
Right.
And she was way on the other side of the room too. And so the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 rule goes, If there's something you're having a problem starting or doing, you just count back 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you
Right.
just jump. You jump. Whatever it is,
Getting
you
up in the
jump.
morning for me. She
I
helped me
used it a
through
lot during that period of my life for getting up in the morning, right? Because I would hit the snooze 3, 4 times, and then I'd be like, "Oh, I still want to get up," and I just 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 explode out the bed, right? So that's what I did. I
Look.
exploded out my seat, sitting at this table,
Wow.
and I'm gonna explode out the seat and just immediately start walking. I'm not gonna stretch. I'm not gonna hesitate. I'm gonna explode out my seat and initially start walking. And that counting back does something to your brain.
Yeah.
So I did 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I jumped up and I took 2 steps. And then once I had started walking her direction, it would have looked very strange had I turned around. So then I had to keep going, right? So I walked straight over to her. I was like, "Hi." I smiled, "Hi. My name is Latanya. I was listening to your introduction and blah, blah, blah. It's so interesting. It's something I think I might be interested in doing." So she was overjoyed to have me
Yes.
ask her because she liked what she did. And she
Right.
proceeded to like talk to me about it and say, "You don't have to do this. All you need is this. And if you do
That's
it, come
good.
back to me. Here's my business card.
That's
I would love
awesome.
to help you." Like, I almost missed out on a blessing
Mm-hmm.
by not
Exactly.
leaving my comfort zone
Exactly.
to do something that inherently I knew
fear.
I needed to do. Sometimes we know what we need to do. We know exactly what we need to do, but we
Right.
don't want to get uncomfortable, right? So that intellectual growth that I did, finding a tool to help me do that,
Mm-hmm. Gotta
was
get comfortable
able
with that uncomfortable.
to help me spring forward into that social interaction, which grew me intellectually too. Because
Mm-hmm.
in our conversation, I learned some things.
Thanks. That's awesome.
Yeah. So and after that, I never had trouble having that thought process. Like, I really would like to go ask this person some questions, but I'm scared, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it is. It boils down to fear. Not necessarily fear of interacting with a person, fear of the discomfort.
Right.
Fear of the discomfort, because we know most people are not dangerous, right?
Mm-hmm.
We know most people are not going to be mean to us if we approach them the right way. But it's that fear of this discomfort, usually from
Yeah.
previous trauma or some kind of
Exactly.
disease process or trauma related to the disease process,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So
That's good. I like that.
you, by not learning what you need to learn to get out of your comfort zone, you could be inhibiting other learning that will help you for the future. Now, what that lady told me, I have not really used that because my interests have changed since then.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been able to share that with other people, what she told me.
That's good.
Right?
And
so
see that
if you have the urge to learn something, it's not just for you.
Right. And it helps you fulfill your purpose, Latanya. That
It
that
does.
is your
It
purpose,
does.
to help others to grow. So that's really good.
Yeah. Yeah. So that is social interaction.
Mm-hmm.
So looking at the notes.
Yeah.
And I think we kind of touched on the relationship of intellectual and emotional, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hand in hand, when we're born, we don't know ourselves emotionally, right? And then we evolve, right? We go through changes in life. We have experiences, traumas, have certain types of parents. We do this and move on or whatever. And, we have to continually be learning ourselves, right? Exactly. So if we don't know ourselves, how can we know other people, right? So at the heart of being emotionally intelligent, right, your EQ. And I think at some point we'll talk about that either on here or on Mental Health Monday about the types of intelligences. I actually did a talk in in the Facebook group, and it was very interesting. So I think we might expound on that and maybe do a self-care Saturday or Mental Health Monday on that.
Sounds good.
Learning how to engage with other people is important, and it involves EQ, right?
Right.
So some of this stuff, as I'm skimming through, we got a little bit over 10 minutes left. I want to make sure I hit the good stuff. Is there anything on our list that you want to make sure that we cover, Laverne, before?
We kind of, I see we have meditation on further down, and that's kind of that self-reflection, like we talked about, just quieting your mind down, getting in a quiet space and reflecting on you. And it's very important that we do that. and
Mhm.
as much as you can during the week, and you
Mhm.
can. I'm telling you, it changes. It changes your life. So if you can just, even if you sit in your car, sometimes I have to sit in my car for over 7 minutes
Mhm.
and just, it's you can journal, you can sit quietly, you can pray, you can meditate, whatever,
Mhm.
suits you. But just being able to have that quiet time and reflecting on yourself and your emotional, intellectual self-care, it is game changing. So
Yes. Yes.
that's
So
very
I
important.
think that's an excellent point because sometimes we're presented with opportunities to learn, but our headspace is not right.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be prepared to learn, right?
Exactly.
Um, and I think a lot of our children struggle with school because of that, right? There's
Yeah,
other things going
they
on,
do.
right? Their headspace is not right. Maybe they
Yes,
have
yeah,
ADD. Maybe
right.
they're having some anxiety for whatever reason. Maybe they're being bullied.
Exactly.
That's why we
Exactly.
always look to children when their grades start dropping, right?
Mm-hmm.
Something's going on. Something's wrong. It's
Something's going
because
on.
they're not
Mm-hmm.
being prepared to receive the knowledge.
Exactly.
And
And
meditation is an excellent way to
mm-hmm.
prepare. You're about to listen to an
Mm-hmm.
audiobook that's important to you. Take 10 minutes and calm your mind so you can stop thinking
Yes.
about all those things that life puts in our head.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. And at the same time too, it's how you frame it.
Hmm.
Sometimes with even school, oh, I gotta do this schoolwork, blah blah blah. But I found, if I can pertain this issue to something that I'm gonna use in life,
Hmm.
I can do it. Like if I know, like we talked about reading this morning,
Hmm.
something that I usually don't do, but how you frame something in your mind and your words that you say about it, it
Absolutely.
it affects, how you receive it. So
Hmm.
that's very, and then the same thing with your kids. You can be framing schoolwork and reading or whatever a certain way with your language, or and just think about your kids are sitting there listening to you. They're gonna have that same mindset. So,
Absolutely.
just be aware, and just, self-awareness and sitting down and reflecting on that is very
Hmm.
important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, and yeah, you start creating those healthy habits of doing that in front of your children. They will adopt them. They will. Um, there's stages in our children's life that they're copying everything we do. We just don't fully realize it, right? And it's not always copying it live in the moment. They make mental note of what we do and don't do, right? And they do it too later, right? It may not be that moment that we see them do it or not do it, but they do it later for sure. Um, there was something on this list. Um, the balance. Okay, the balance. Learning how to balance intellectual self care with other things. And this is something I struggled with. And maybe some other people who are like me, who are voracious learners. Um, Learning how to balance it, right? And if you love to learn, first of all, learning enough, right? Am I giving priority to intellectual self care in my life, right? That's where self reflection and journaling come in. What have I learned new today? Or what? Some people may weekly journal. What did I learn new this week? If you're routinely finding yourself not being able to write anything in your journal, it's out of balance. You need to
Mm-hmm.
find something to learn about. It
Mm-hmm.
could
They
be
even have
someone.
apps. Mm-hmm.
Yes, they have
Mm-hmm.
apps that can like trigger you. Hey, it's time to do this today. Or hey,
Mm-hmm.
did you read your book today? Or
Mm-hmm. Or
hey,
even a new fact. They can have
exactly,
some new
exactly.
facts.
Some people, who like to read the Bible, some of them practice memorizing scriptures. That's just an example of, having routines, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as I said before, we're going to talk in the future about using planners, systems, and routines and
Mm-hmm.
journaling to ensure that you are providing yourself with adequate self-care.
Self-care, right.
And that's
Mm-hmm.
one way you can maintain the balance.
Mm-hmm.
Myself, I actually have an imbalance because I love to learn so much, and it provides me with the dopamine for my ADHD that I'm always in learning mode. I'm always trying to figure out how to do something or how to do something faster or
Right.
easy or
Me too.
cheaper
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
or free.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm always in YouTube, reading on the internet, etc. And I have to constantly do self-care, self-talk, and say, hey, you're spending more time
Mm-hmm.
trying to figure out how to do this the easy way, and you could have done it the hard way by
Hard
now.
way. Right. I have that
You have to have that
problem.
come to Jesus moment with yourself sometimes to
I have that
ensure
hyper focus.
that you're able to actually have a good awareness of what's going on. So also you have to give yourself that time to say that I am going to only give myself X amount of time. That's where using the planner comes in, to research this topic. And if I can't find it, I'm gonna have to go with what I know, right? Hold on for a second, y'all. I'm sorry, I'm back, y'all. But anyway, you have to set limits for yourself. You have to set limits for yourself as far as if you know you do something in extreme, like learning, like going down the rabbit hole, you have to set limits for yourself and find tools that can keep you from going too far down the rabbit hole for learning certain things, right? You can't listen to the audiobook all day, every day, right? There's other things you may need to listen to, or you can't only listen about this topic. You may need to learn about this topic, right? That's where the balance comes in too. Not only learning about certain things, but learning about everything that relates to your life and living a good life for yourself. So one of the tools I've been using lately is AI. I used to go down the Google rabbit hole, but now I go straight to the AI. And I actually I'm able to engage with the AI, and it gets me straight to the point of what I need to know, right? And then, if the AI can't answer my questions, then I may go to Google just to answer this one little aspect of it, right? But I'm not going down the full rabbit hole in that topic.
Yeah.
So
AI
sometimes
is
we
like
have
Google
to,
on steroids.
yes, that's my word for it. Google on steroids, like it's going to change the world, y'all. So if you don't know about it, that's something I'm giving you a task to learn more about it, right? And don't believe what's on the news media, because they're sensationalizing some of the negative aspects of it. But there's negative aspects of Google. There's negative aspects of YouTube, but we still use those things, right? So learn a little bit more about AI, because, it may be the thing that helps you get the job. It may be the thing that helps you build a business, helps you drop a habit, helps you lose weight, because it's able to do the things that we feel like we don't have time to do in the world, because it takes away some of that time and learning and gathering knowledge for us.
Right. I was just about to say that because I was like, at the same time, you know, don't just use it as a tool. We're not, saying we
Exactly.
want you to continue to, intellectually grow and search, but this is a tool that you can also use to help you grow.
And we've been using AI the whole time, just not in the context that it's being delivered in 2023. For example, how many of us use spell check on Word, right? That is a form of artificial intelligence. It's able to read our document and find everything we've misspelled. Same thing with the grammar or Grammarly, something like that. This is just a more enhanced version of it. I know there's a lot of concern in the educator population about students writing papers. And let's just keep it real. For many, many years, there has been an industry in which people have been paying for papers to be written. And we weren't worried about those people, right? Because those people are the people with money, right? But now that the general public is going to have access to it, now it's a problem. That's a very classist way of looking at this issue. People getting other things or people to do their papers, right? I think we need to expand our minds and say, if writing a paper is the only way we can judge knowledge acquisition, that's a problem with the educational industry, right? And I think this is ties in really well, because education is learning. We can learn. Some people learn to spell by using spell check, right? So if people are using the bot, they are going to still require some level of knowledge, but that's where it becomes on the educator, me being part of the educators, to find other ways to measure knowledge attainment. Discussion, case studies. We still test, but making sure our test is going to require critical thinking to answer the questions, and not having it straight memorization, right? All those are aspects of intellectual self-care that are important. if we need to test our knowledge acquisitions and we can't always get out in the field and test it, right? Like, what way can we do it? Take notes, read our notes. We remember what our notes say, right? So there's different ways to test knowledge acquisition, and it's going to basically require us to do a little bit more work to get there, especially at first as we get used to this new way of delivering and education and measuring knowledge acquisition. But eventually we'll get used to it like we do everything else, right? Because the humans are very adaptable, right? Just like we've adapted to using Google, right? We can adapt to using AI in the right way, right? But there's always going to be people who are going to cheat the system and override the system. If you take away the AI, make AI illegal in the college, the people who want to cheat still going to do it. They just going to pay somebody else to write the paper. Right. So I think it's silly that people are so concerned that people are going to use AI to write paper. I strongly encourage everybody, including students, to learn how to use it. But also, if you value knowledge, it will catch up with you if you're repeatedly cheating.
Right. And then it's a new age, that's, just like how things changed when our parents were, in school, and when we were in school, everything's changing. It's moving fast. So, they're gonna, probably before long, they may have speeches where you have to, in order to have a topic, you would have to have a speech on it, because communication is, the new thing now, and having stuff like super fast. It's like the new thing. Somebody's not going to sit down long enough to just read a paper. They're going to want to have a recording, a voice
exactly,
or something like that. So
I would say that there's more people who engage in audiobooks now than written language, written books, right?
Right.
Just because of the way we work and the way our time and our energy. And, I think since audiobook industry, there's been a resurgence of people reading books because they have access to audiobooks. I know for me, that's what was a thing. I'm able to, at my peak, I was getting through 2-3 books a week sometimes, depending on how long the book was, because of audiobooks. So as we end, we're just going to encourage you to go out and make a plan to learn something new all the time as a form of self-care, right? To learn something new. Laverne. She's giggling. I think she didn't know she wasn't muted.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. I found I'm laughing because you was laughing in the background. I don't even know what you were laughing at. But yeah, we're going to encourage you to continue to engage in intellectual self-care by learning something new all the time, every day. I am a strong believer in learning something new every day. So I open my YouTube app every day, and it knows what I like to learn on. So it'll show me, if you have an account, it'll do that, right? The algorithm will show me what I want to see. Never fails, right? One of the things I have to be careful of when I said about maintaining that balance, is this an hour-long video or is it a 15-minute video, right? So just be mindful. Also,
and just think about that algorithm is listening to you too. How many times have we talked about something with someone and you go to your phone and it pops up, you should buy this. You may be talking about you're going to buy, Coke, and it pops up all of a sudden you get
for Coca-Cola.
This day and age is like really changing. So y'all need to get on board.
Yes. You could learn to leverage it for the good, or you can only sit here and focus about how it's going to make the world a horrible place, which it's not. It's not. It's going to provide access to so many things that people don't have access to, haven't had access to before, either by the fact that they don't know how or they don't have the time, right? Because it's going to shorten that time window for knowledge acquisition. And, that's why, they're trying to get rid of TikTok too, because a lot of people are learning things on TikTok,
Definitely.
There's a lot of political movements on TikTok. This is why the politicians want it to be. It ain't about China. Trust me. Because everything else in America is Chinese. We're wearing Chinese clothes.
Health and intellectual growth, all of this.
Yeah, we some people are like, oh, we're growing their economy, we putting money in China's pockets. So everything else we do, during the pandemic, think about how much supplies we didn't have because we couldn't get it from China. So it's not about that. Y'all open your eyes and pay attention. That's one way to learn, is by learning about what's going on in politics, right? And that's important because that gives us the knowledge we need to vote appropriately in our best interests, right? So learn, right? Pay attention and learn when it comes to politics.
Right.
But anyway, that's an aside. But y'all, if you're watching this right now, make a point to learn one new thing today and every day thereafter, right? and if you journal, as you should, whether it be, mental journal, written journal, audio journal, write down, what did I learn today? Every night or every morning, what did I learn yesterday? And that will
Follow
cue
that
you in to
5 second
do it.
rule.
Just do it. Just
It
do it.
works.
Because it may be that person that, oh, so-and-so is such and such of such and such, go engage with that person. Somebody gave me a tip and said, look, this position might be coming open. You may be interested in it, but, go talk to such and such or such and such. And, they may be able to give you more idea of what, what's going to happen with it.
Right.
But, so first of all, I got to learn about the position myself to figure out if I actually want to open up that window. Right. But then, I have to make the effort to open the door to go talk to that person. Right. And say, hello, you probably don't know me, but I'm such and such, might have heard my name, but here I am.
Exactly.
But, making those decisions and, that's all part of intellectual, right? All part of
Exactly.
intellectual.
And
And,
even-
it could make or break your life.
Right. And even having that person to come and tell you that's part of, your
Mhm.
social,
Yes.
circle. And we talk a lot about our tribe. So
Yes. Your
it's
tribe
really
will bring the
important.
knowledge to you that you need when you need it. For sure. That's a good one, Laverne. Ooh.
Right. Definitely.
If the people around you are the people that you should have around you, they will come to you with tips and tricks
Exactly.
and
help grow you
inside
intellectually.
knowledge and information, that you may not get anywhere else.
Exactly.
I do know the people who are part of my tribe. They know everything I know.
That's good.
And I make
That's
sure
good.
they do. Because
Right.
I'm a person who gets excited by knowing things, So I'm like, let me share it with you. I got to tell y'all. Let me show you,
Y'all.
And so, just hang out with Always Up Coaching and you'll know some stuff that the general population had no clue of, right? But pretty soon we might have a conversation on AI just as a maybe not as mental health on Mental Health Monday or on Self-Care Saturday, but just as like a random conversation. We'll do like a little discussion panel about AI, and we'll have maybe like 4 or 5 people. I think that would be fun.
I think that
Just
would be
like,
awesome.
just to have like a little discussion panel on it.
Yeah, and you guys be looking at even events outside, so maybe we can, meet together and have an intellectual discussion. I think that would be awesome.
Yes, it would be. It would be. So make sure you follow Always Up Coaching. Follow me on my coaching page, Latanya Brumfield, AUPC. I will put those links in the comments section right now, so I won't forget. Follow Laverne Wright. I'm gonna throw her link up here as well.
Yes. Well, and also you'll see me on Facebook, Laverne Wright. My email address is lavernScott99@yahoo.com. So anybody want to talk or just have a small, brief little conversation intellectually, hit me up.
Okay. We are on almost all social platforms. And it's saying it's not letting me post my comments. I'm going to post it after I hang up, y'all. But we are available on all social platforms on Always Up Coaching. So if you just search Always Up Coaching, you'll see us. TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. I don't think I've started a Snapchat yet. I'm not a fan of Snapchat. Maybe I need to learn more about it to see how I can be a fan.
Look,
that could be a challenge for me.
We may have to get with Miss Susie and we can do a Snapchat.
Yes. Absolutely.
Her line dance, and I love her. That's awesome.
Yeah. But yeah, so y'all have a happy Saturday, a wonderful weekend. We will see you on Mental Health Monday. I'm not even 100% sure off the top of my head what we're talking about on Mental Health Monday, but whatever it is, it will help you or it'll help somebody you know. So join us 5:30 p.m. Central Standard Time for Mental Health Monday. And until then, y'all
definitely will promote your intellectual health.
Absolutely. And it'll hit that emotional too, for sure.
Definitely. You guys.
All right, y'all. Have a great weekend. Bye.
Have a great weekend. Bye-bye. Have a good one.